The Pelicans lose 122-90 on their home floor, Game 3 of the season against the Boston Celtics. What? And Trey Murphy scored how much? We're going to unpack it all today on this episode of Flock.
Ready?
So, welcome everyone to Flock, a New Orleans Pelicans podcast. I am your host, Lyle Swithenbank, at Lyle Swithenbank on X, on TikTok, and on Blue Sky. And of course, at Lyle Pels on Instagram. Thanks for tuning in. Gosh, let's all take a collective breath. Let's just, before we unpack whatever in the world the New Orleans Pelicans decided they were going to be today, let's just take a breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The Pelicans lose 122-90 after trailing by only 5 with 9 minutes to go in the fourth. You cannot make this up. So, what happened? Gosh, what did happen? The Pelicans started slow. They came out the gates and looked woeful. Maybe shocked by the news that probably shocked us all about an hour before the game, is that Zion Williamson was out with a left foot contusion. And so it begins, my friends. So it begins. We thought it would be different. Alas, Zion out. Death, taxes, and the Pelicans being injured. Game 3. You know, we talked about on the last episode, Zion playing the most minutes that he'd had in a very long time, 36 minutes. He had a couple of days off, and he's going to have a couple more. We don't know the extent of this injury. He didn't get through a full training per Willie Green, and he did not play, which is not ideal. And what proceeded to happen was nothing short of an abomination. The Pelicans started slow, as I said. They started with Eve, Herb, Trey, Jordan Poole, and Jeremiah Fears. It was meant to be Sadiq Bey in for Eve. We decided to scrap that and go with the centre because Eve was back after just one game with a sprained ankle. Appreciate him healing quickly. I suppose those young guys do. And we looked garbage. From the tip, they threw an alley-oop to start the game. We didn't really look like we wanted to be there for a frosty Monday night in New Orleans. The crowd looked up and about. They looked like they were going to have some fun. And honestly, they just looked like they didn't want to be there. And when you have that attitude against a team that's won a championship in the last couple of years, yes, missing a whole heap of stars, yes, revamped roster, but good coach. Jaylen Brown still playing. Derek White, great player. Plenty of guys that have been to the mountaintop with the Celtics, and a whole heap of guys that want to earn a spot in the league. You can't take them lightly. They hadn't won. They'd also just flown in from Detroit the day before, after playing. So they're on the second night of a back-to-back. Their star players out for the season. They've revamped. Much like the Pelicans. You've had a couple of days off. You haven't had to travel anywhere. And you deliver that. Honestly, I feel sorry for the people that went and watched. I feel sorry for the people that watched at home, such as myself. I feel sorry for AD and Joel, who had to, they get paid to do it, but they had to commentate through a team that looked like they didn't want to be there. Got completely outclassed in toughness, both mentally and physically, is what Willie Green said in the post-game. And boy, oh boy, you let go of the rope. We talked about this in previous shows, right? In previous seasons, the Pelicans would have been challenged and let go of the rope when they went down in those 14-0 runs. We had 14, we've had 19, Now we've had 32-4, I think, to finish the game. I don't think it's good enough. I do not think, with the talent that you have, with or without Zion, we were fed the lines. This team's going to be different. We're building them 10 deep so that when a guy goes down, we're not reliant on just one player. Well, I think you were wrong. Now, are we going to overreact? No, I think it's a completely justified reaction, to be fair. We have been through this time and time and time again. Herb was missing. He played about 13 minutes. Trey, 7 points. His quote in media day, are you going to be an all-star this year? Absolutely. You're going to have to score more than DeAndre Jordan, who's been here 2 days, Trey. Yes, you were the number one option. Yes, the defense was all over you. But there was no one that was wildly all defensive, right? Yeah, okay, Derek White's solid, but you're taller than him. Peyton Pritchard's point guard. Jaylen Brown did nothing. He was their star and he was coming off a groin. Had a bit of groin soreness. You had no reason to be as poor as you were. So, let's just have a look quarter by quarter. We lost the first quarter by 8, 34-26. Second quarter, 3 points, so we improved, 31-28. Third quarter, we won, 24-22. And then we scored 12 points in the last quarter. In 12 minutes of basketball, we scored 12 points. I don't accept that as at all. If I'm the coach of that team, I've come steaming into the locker room. I haven't actually waited to get to the locker room before I've blasted these guys. In fact, I've probably dragged them back out onto the court to get out whatever carry-on that they had and just run. It's not acceptable to be mediocre. We've talked about this. Joe Dumas has promised us. Everyone's bought in. We've said that there's a standard that has to be set, and no one met it tonight. Coaches didn't meet it. Players didn't meet it. I can't really say anyone played well. We look like garbage. I don't know what the solution is. Does Zion need to stay healthy? Yeah. Should he have played through this? Absolutely. If he can. If it's some, bone bruise that is actually code for something else, then no. But if he could have played, that's one of the ones you have to play. There's no scheduled nights off after 3 days off. On a back-to-back, that's different. After you've been on a, few days road trip, sleeping in your own bed, man. It terrifies me, though, because what is this and how long does it last? I don't know. There's going to be a lot of tired Pels fans who, once again, sit there going, what if? Now, the reason that it's not an overreaction, and yes, we're allowed to be frustrated. Of course, it's, you're 3 games into the season. But the problem is that you're now the only Western Conference team with no wins. You also are in a Western Conference that is highly competitive. The next games that you have is Denver, OKC. These teams that are going to come in expecting to win. You were the underdog in these next games. You cannot afford to drop them. The ones that were winnable, Memphis, Spurs, you were right in them. This, you should have won. Instead, you leave meat on the bone and now you look like absolute laughingstock. And the people that criticise you for trading back Pacers draft pick, who are full of injuries, and trading back our own to get Derek Queen, it's not a slight on Derek Queen, but you are giving up a really high-ranking draft pick, it looks like, based on your performance. Do we throw the baby out with the bathwater? No. Are we upset? Yes. Should we be upset? Yes. And the team should be upset. That doesn't meet the standard required to play in the NBA. You cannot have players out there running cardio essentially. For Jordan Hawkins, 15 minutes, 0 points. Missed all his shots. Trey Murphy played 33 minutes, scored 7 points. It's unacceptable. It cannot be allowed to just be, we'll get them in the next game. No, because these habits, these actions become habits. You're going to continue to play like this because there's no repercussions not to. And we saw that last year is that you got complacent because there was no competition for spots. This year we filled a bench out. There are competition for spots. Yes, few injuries. But there's no repercussions for not doing what you're meant to do. And if they were meant to play like that, then it's a coaching issue. And Willie Green should pack his stuff. Because there's no game plan. And if there was, they didn't execute it very well. Or it was a shit plan. That's the reality. We're not in year 1. We're not in year 2. We're not in year 3. We're not in year 4. There needs to be tangible change. We can't keep blaming injuries. And if it is just injuries, then let's start again. Because God forbid we have something nice. I don't know. So, something that really grind my gears is they went in there 29th in rebounding. 29th. So you got 30 teams. They're second last. They out-rebounded us by 19. 54 to 35. We had Eve. We had Derek Queen. We had DeAndre Jordan. They had Keita and Luka Garza as their centers. How are we losing a rebound battle? The ball hit the ground on defensive rebounds. They were scooping up offensive rebounds. Offensive rebounds, 16 to 11. Peyton Pritchard got one. You know, stupid passing where we try to advance the ball. We rush for no reason. Turn the ball over 3 the other way. You know, they took 53s. That, 53 threes, in fact. They hit 18, 34%. We shot 9 of 36. You know they do that. And they were still getting open threes. And credit to the other team. Look, it'll sound like Willie Green. Credit to them for playing the game plan. They have played like that for years. Shoot threes, play in the paint, defend like hell. And we had no answer. Luka Garza hit 3 threes. I didn't even know he shot threes. Apparently neither did the Pelicans. Because they didn't defend him. Who did we have? Jordan Poole had 22 points. Took 5 of 14 was his shooting. You know, 3 of 8 from 3, hit 9 free throws. It's great that he's getting those fouls. We were good at drawing fouls. You know, you barely scraped double digits. Herb with 11. Messi with 11. Bay with 11. Queen with 12. Your second highest scorer is the kid who is in his 3rd game and played no preseason. And he scored 12 in 21 minutes. Your 38-year-old, who you signed 3 days ago, had no preseason, had as many points as your all-star, in quotation marks, Trey Murphy. It's not acceptable to play like this. We have to be better. I can't be putting out a search party for Trey and Herb. You know, Trey played like 33. Herb played 22. Herb at times was like, he was a minus 29. What version of Herb is this? I haven't seen it before. Is he still working back from injury? Probably. But it's not very often that you're getting your worst well, second worst behind Jeremiah Fears, who got, sold up shit creek without a paddle. He's minus 29. And Jeremiah Fears had a bad game, right? He was put in the starting lineup. He should never have had to been showing that to begin. He shouldn't have been put in that position. It was perfectly fine coming off the bench. The bench suffered because we didn't have him. There was... I understand you're wanting another ball handler out there with Jordan Poole, but gosh, maybe you start Jose. Instead, you play Jose, and he was bad as well. Although -3 was in fact the best on the team in the plus minus. So there you go. What do I know? We were outclassed today. Plain and simple. Completely outclassed. Looked disinterested. Looked like we had a poor attitude. Didn't want to play. And after the game, we move on. You can't let up. You cannot let up. You can't let a 34-4 run happen. Not in the NBA. That's outrageous. I don't know if you need tangible changes. It feels like there needs to be some sort of overhaul. I don't know if you sack Willie Green. I don't know if that makes any difference. But there needs to be a mindset change. Quick smart with this team before they go and face Denver, because they're going to be in a world of pain. Because those Denver Nuggets are looking real good. I don't know what else to say. This was not a happy pod. It was not one that I wish I had to do on Game 3. I'm a massive Pels fan. You know that. You've followed for long enough to know that I am one of the more positive people and optimistic, but this one sucked. And so I hope everyone just takes a second to reflect, protect their peace. This is a sports team that we support. I mean, I've got Zion's shirt on. Look, I'm already back in. But what can you do? We will show up again to watch the Denver game. We know it. Will we be happy about it should we get flogged once again? No. But we'll all meet back here and we'll chat about it again. So anyway, this has been Flock, a short, angry, disappointing podcast about your New Orleans Pelicans. At Lyle Swithenbank on Twitter, on TikTok, on Blue Sky, at Lyle Pels on Instagram. We'll be back. We'll do another podcast after the Denver game. Stay safe. And of course, bye for now. And please play next game, Zion. Please. Please.